They're almost forgotten now. Those names from another era who risked everything to save us all. But before the days of TikTok and Netflix, there were people whose bravery and brilliance were just as entertaining. And in this episode, we're going to reveal the story of the real secret team of code breakers that no one knew about. Each side scrambling to decode the other's secret messages. If they could decipher the enemy's plans, it would give them the upper hand in the war. So both sides threw their best minds into breaking the codes. But none was more brilliant than Alan Turing. He was a man who lived for puzzles, a mathematician and computer scientist whose mind worked like a well-oiled machine. His insights helped crack the unbreakable codes of World War II. But what exactly made him so special? Let's find out. On September 23, 1936, something extraordinary happened in the world of cryptography. Alan Turing, a British mathematician, presented a paper that introduced the world to the concept of a programmable machine capable of performing complex calculations. This groundbreaking idea was later developed during the war when Turing and his team built a machine that could test thousands of possibilities in a matter of seconds, effectively shortening the war and helping to save countless lives. But what was the Enigma code and why was it so important? The Enigma code was a cipher machine used extensively by the German military during World War II. It was a device designed to encrypt secret messages, making them unreadable to anyone who intercepted them. But how did it work? Well, the Enigma machine was a marvel of engineering for its time. It had a keyboard and each letter press would illuminate a lamp with a different color. This light would then rotate to another machine, where a series of mirrors would reflect the light onto a different set of lamps, creating a coded message. The process was repeated several times, making it extremely difficult to decode. To crack the Enigma code, Turing and his team had to think like the Germans. They needed to understand the way the enemy military operated and the kind of messages they sent. They also needed to know the inner workings of the Enigma machine, which was constantly evolving as the war progressed. It was a daunting task, but Turing and his team were up for the challenge. In 1938, Turing joined the British government's Code and Cipher School in Bletchley Park, a country estate in Buckinghamshire. There he and his team of code breakers got to work on the Enigma machine. They started by trying to guess the settings used by the Germans to encrypt their messages. They also looked for patterns in the coded messages, hoping to find a weakness in the system. But it wasn't easy. For months, the team struggled to make any progress. The Enigma code seemed unbreakable, but Turing was not ready to give up. He knew that if they could break the code, it would be a major victory for the Allies. He could shorten the war and save countless lives. So he did what he did best. He thought outside the box. Turing realized that instead of trying to guess the settings used by the Germans, they should try to build a machine that could do it for them. He called it the bomb. It was an electromechanical device that could test thousands of potential settings. In a matter of seconds, suddenly, what was once impossible became possible. The team could now read the German secret messages. When the Germans began using the Enigma machine in 1936, it was virtually impossible to break. That was because the machine had 17 movable rotors, each with 26 letters of the alphabet. The rotors were arranged in a ring, and when a message was inputted, the first rotor would turn and move the second rotor one step further. Then the second rotor would turn and move the next rotor, and so on. After passing through all the rotors, the signal would pass through a reflector, then back through the rotors again. This process was repeated until the message was complete. As each rotor had 26 letters, there were 26 possible settings. By multiplying the number of rotors by the number of possible settings per rotor, it was calculated that there were 150 to 180 billion possible settings for the Enigma machine. With the human mind, it would have taken billions of years to figure out the right settings. But Turing and his team were not ordinary. They figured out a way to do it much faster. Their electromechanical device, the bomb, had 350 wheels. By turning them, It could simulate the Enigma machine and test hundreds of settings every second. It was like a supercharged version of the Enigma machine specifically designed to crack the unbreakable code. The bombs were first used in 1940 when the Polish government in exile provided Britain with the Enigma machine and some of its secrets. It took Turing and his team 3 weeks to build their first bomb. In the beginning, they tried to manually turn the wheels, but it was too slow and inaccurate. So they installed electric motors to automate the process. Once automated, the bombs could test thousands of settings per second, drastically speeding up the process of breaking the Enigma code. But breaking the code was only half the battle. The other half was keeping it a secret. If the Germans knew that the British had broken the code, they would change their encryption methods and start sending messages in a different code. That's why the work done at Bletchley Park was kept top secret. Even Turing's family didn't know what he was working on. He would come home from work covered in dirt, having shoveled the latrines. To keep his mind off the stress of breaking the Enigma code, he would take long walks in the countryside, often getting lost in thought. During these solitary moments, he found solace in the natural beauty around him and used the time to relax and clear his mind. It was during these walks that he would develop some of his most brilliant ideas. The solitude allowed him to focus on the task at hand and come up with innovative solutions that others hadn't thought of. As the war went on, the Germans grew suspicious that their codes were being broken and they began to change the settings more frequently. This made it harder for Turing's team to stay ahead of them, but they managed to keep up. By 1945, the work done at Bletchley Park had helped the Allied forces win many battles and potentially saved countless lives. When the war ended, Turing and his team were given a hero's welcome. They were congratulated by Winston Churchill and King George VI, but their work was still classified and the public didn't know about it until the 1970s. In 1951, Turing was charged with gross indecency after he entered into a relationship with a man named Arnold Murray. At the time, homosexuality was illegal in Britain and Turing was sentenced to undergo castration therapy. He died in 1954 at the age of 41, having been denied a proper burial. But in 2009, he was given a royal pardon by Queen Elizabeth II. Now let's answer the question we asked you at the very beginning of the video. Can you imagine a world without computers or the internet? Without Turing, that might have been our reality. He showed us that even the most complex problems can be solved with a little creativity and hard work. He was a true genius who changed the world, and we'll never know all the ways he impacted us all. Did you find this video interesting? Do you want to learn more about the fascinating lives of historical figures? Stay tuned for more videos about Alan Turing and other historical figures who changed the world. Thanks for watching.